And I know for me, a lot of this has come down to awareness, right? We have so many things going on in our daily lives that we think, oh, wait, the FDA here in the United States, but around the world, that we have government organizations that are watching over our food. And so we should be able to at least not worry about that. Like that should be one thing off of our plate. Or I know you bring up things as simple as bubble baths and the shampoos that we use, especially when it comes to our children. And so here I can speak for myself as a young mother. I was working full time, going to school full time to build a better life for us as a family. I, the bandwidth that's there to think about, okay, is there a chemical in this that could create complexity for not only myself, but my child? It just wasn't there. And so it sounds like you've done the research to give a defined overview of like, hey, here's what's going on. So can you dive in for like people like me and the mother that I was who just feels overwhelmed? It's like, oh, here's one more thing on my plate. How how can this help that mother or that father or that parent understand how to be there for their child?
Oh, you've described the experience so well. That's intense, and we can't. It's we do get overwhelmed. We get overwhelmed every day, don't we? We really do. And this is just like people will say, it's just kind of like one more problem, and how do I deal with it? And my idea in raising healthy kids was to get you in and out so you don't have to worry about it anymore. And by that I mean I wanted to make the book really interesting to read, so it would so you would enjoy the voice, the song that it is about what you can do. But then I wanted to give you the big ideas that you can take with you, so you don't have to keep referring to other experts, but now you have it inside you. So I really dealt with how do you get the most chemical reduction for the least effort? What can you do as a busy parent? And I know because I raised three kids as a single dad and with a lot of help, but you do get overwhelmed. And it's just so what I do is I take parents on a story, take them on a story. And we start with the big things like your child's food. Well, one thing parents, and then I bust some myths. For example, people today think that organic foods are too expensive for them. People say, well, I can't afford organic. That's for rich people and, people who shop at Whole Paycheck and other
Yes.
health food stores. But
Yes.
but I'm not rich. I'm an activist and an author, and those are two businesses where you're lucky if you get abused. You know, and they're tough businesses. So I know what it is to live on a budget. What I found though is that all of the organic staples are really available for the same or less price now than conventionally sourced foods. For example, your lettuce, your apples, your carrots, your celery, all your bread, all of your basics can be purchased organically now and at about the same price, if not less expensive. And I learned this by going on sites like, Instacart and other sites and comparison shopping. And you can easily afford organic foods. So that's a big idea. And then you'll ask, well, what's the validation? Why should I get organic foods and be concerned? Well, if you look at what's being sprayed on crops today, these are the chemicals that interfere with our children's sex hormones. Some of them act like estrogen in the human body. Some block the actions of testosterone. Some cause cancer. Some attack the male sperm. And whereas maybe 20 years ago we didn't have epidemiological or human studies that showed these effects, the science has advanced to the point now where we sadly have a body count. And we know that people are getting hurt and kids. In fact, I interviewed kids whose moms were tested for pesticides in the late 1990s, and they're now young teens. and they were tested for neurological function after they were born, and the kids whose moms had the highest levels of organophosphate pesticides, which are common in our fruits and vegetables and bread, also had the most rates of ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They had lower IQs and learning difficulties. And that's because these chemicals in the conventionally sourced foods are brain toxins. And if you eat them, whether you're pregnant or give them to your children later, they damage the brain. They damage your brain as an adult. Well, so you're asking rhetorically, I'm asking, so why should I buy organics? Overall, organics are much less chemically contaminated. We know that. Study after study shows that. Plus, have looked at monitoring reports for organic foods, and they're really clean. They're not perfect by any means, but they're so much better. And studies show kids' levels of pesticides in their urine go down to non-detectable when they're on a largely organic diet. But
Right.
also, you're raising a child on organic foods means they will, and this is in peer reviewed studies, they will have less diabetes, less obesity, fewer skin allergies like eczema, and less risk of cancer. And organic diets during pregnancy mean your child will have less chance of a birth defect, genital malformation, and mom will have fewer complications in her pregnancy. So these are all published peer reviewed studies. So that's a big thing right there. That's one big change you can make. You do it, you don't have to keep thinking about it. It's kind of a change. It's like when you smile, it changes the rest of your body, right? Your whole physiology. So going organic kind of does the same thing for you in terms of your health.